Support the show and get your Everyone Loves Guitar t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs at guitarmerch.com, where you'll also find other cool music and guitar t-shirts. That's guitarmerch.com. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And today we got a great guitar player and fantastic producer from Canada. So you know these Canadians are going to hear lots of I'm sorries and shit like that. But he's also a great guy. Murray Pulver. Super successful musician and production career, and I'm excited. And I want to thank our mutual friend Ross Hogarth for connecting us. Ross, thank you very much for all your support. You're the man.
Yeah, Ross.
Quick thumbnail on Murray. He began as a touring guitarist in the early 90s with international recording artist Crash Test Dummies. He also recorded on their album called A Worm's Life, which achieved platinum certification less than a month after it was released and ultimately sold over 3 million copies. Later, as a full member of country act Doc Walker from 2002 to 2012, during Murray's tenure, during that time, he co-wrote several top 10 singles, and the band won the Canadian Country Music Association Award 4 times. Other CCMA awards include Album of the Year, Songwriters of the Year, Group of the Year, Single and Video of the Year's awards, as well as the Fans' Choice Awards, as well as a number of #1 videos and top 5 singles. Now check this out. Murray also won CCMA, the Canadian Country Music Association Guitar Player of the Year 3 times. That's pretty badass, man. Now, he's a phenomenal guitar player. This guy's super mellow, but I'll tell you a couple of tracks to listen to. He's really a badass. He won Guitar Player of the Year 3 times and Western Canadian Musician of the Year twice. As a producer, his accolades also include CCMA Producer of the Year, 2 Western Canadian Musician Awards for Producer of the Year and Canadian Folk Producer of the Year. He's produced all the Brothers Landreth albums, including the Juno-winning album Let It Lie. And if you want to check those out, they're great. All the Brothers Landreth stuff is good. And I had Joey Landreth on the show here a while back. Great interview. Murray also writes and scores for television shows, documentaries, and feature films. And his music has been on several Lifetime Network movies. And if you want to listen to some of his amazing guitar work as a player, I'm going to point you to 2 tracks. So take out your pen and pencil right now. The 2006 self-titled Doc Walker album, check out the track called That Train. Awesome. Just so really moving playing. And also Murray has a solo album called The Guest List. Check out the track called In a Lonely Place. I mean, he's just a monster. So anyway, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your patience. And we had mic issues. You handled it like a pro.
I'm supposed to, right? That's my job. Greg, thanks for having me, and thanks for Ross Ross for hooking us up.
Man.
I'm honored to be on your show, man.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. So let me ask you this. Most people either go wide or deep in their career, meaning they do a number of different things or they do one thing really well. But I was shocked, amazed really, at both how wide and how deep you've gone, and you've been really successful across the board as a musician, as a songwriter, producer. I mean, that's not common. I mean, it's hard to be successful in one thing. You've mastered several, so that's awesome. How'd you first get into? Let's talk about playing guitar, I guess. And did you come from a musical family, or how did that all start?
Well, whoa, there's my timer to be on your show.
You're done. Well, thank you very much, Murray. It's been fun.
Thanks, Craig. It's over. Well, man, I appreciate the comments about going wide and deep, and
it's true
in this biz, and it is a crazy business to navigate, and I appreciate how I've been able to continue to do it, and it's you talk about how I first got into music, and I think that started with my parents, actually. My dad he moved from Berlin to Canada when he was 20 years old.
So wow, that's always a cool adventure.
Always a risk taker, yeah. And ended up in this small town called Portage la Prairie, and he married my mother, who's from Ukraine, and he started a band at 40 years old. He went out and bought a PA system and a drum set, had no clue how to play it, and he had no band members, but he said, I'm going to start a band, and we're going to play every weekend. And so he hired some really great local players. He taught himself drums, taught himself how to, set up a PA and work it. And he hired my mom to sing.
Wow. Was she a sing? Had she sang before that?
She was just in church and stuff, so.
Wow.
So it was the first time I think that they ever thought there was a possibility of divorce, because my dad he did not tell her that he was going to buy this PA or drum set or anything. He showed up, she showed up after work, and there he was in the basement with all this shit.
Wow.
And, but you know what? It was amazing for me because there was always music on in the house, but once he started the band, they'd rehearse in the basement, and I'd just sit there at the top of the stairs and take it all in. And, I think the love of music just sort of started then, and they played for years and years. And once their guitar player taught me a couple lessons, and he couldn't make a gig, and he said, well, Murray could do it. And I just knew the basic chords and stuff. And they said, okay. And that I made $150, and I forgot about my pro soccer career that I wanted to do. And yeah.
That's very inspiring, man. So there's hope for me at 58. I can do the same thing.
Yeah, go. Hey man, you got the guitars already. So
I know.
Get out there.
And I keep waiting to get a little better and waiting. And my music teacher's like, you just stop waiting, just go play. You're ready for it. I know.
You know what? You just got to do it. Yeah,
You're right.
That's the thing. And that's with anything. I think you just have to get out there and dip the feet in, and try it, see what happens. Because
wow,
guaranteed you're gonna have a good time doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. I need to. My goal is before the end of this year to just connect with some guys to play music.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. But anyway, that's not about me. But that was inspiring, man, that he did that, and then that you got involved in it like that. Must have been really cool playing with your parents.
Yeah, but they quit shortly after, man. As soon as I started playing with them, they were like, I think that we're done. They just passed the songbook over to me, and I had actually a bunch of kids, a bunch of 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids, we all who loved playing metal and Iron Maiden songs and punk tunes. We all learned songs from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and we played every weekend.
Really?
Yeah, we put the hours in, and that sort of sparked the interest in doing music as a career, or that's all I could ever really think about,
Right.
I loved my, as soon as I heard Live at Budokan, that kind of was the first thing that hit. And then the parents playing in the basements, and then doing it with my friends and making money. We were each making $150 a night, playing as a 15-year-old kid,
That's a lot of money. Yeah. For one night.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's cool, man. So, okay, so this started real early. What was the scene like in Winnipeg? Tell me about Winnipeg. Is it a big city, a small town? I know I looked it up on the map, so it's just right above the Wisconsin and North Dakota border, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. We're about 8 hours north of Minneapolis.
That's okay.
So there's nothing surrounding Winnipeg. We're pretty isolated here. It's a city of just under 1 million, 800,000.
Okay.
And the scene here is, I think, pretty healthy and pretty thriving, probably because nobody has a real scope of what they should sound like. You know what I mean? Well, if you're in a big city like Toronto or New York or whatever, there's things to follow, and it's we gotta sound like that band or anything.
Oh, okay.
There seems to be a real scene that thrives by being individuals, here, and everybody's sort of you go out and see amazing music no matter what genre any night of the week here, and it kind of blows your mind.
That's pretty amazing. You might be the first person in 900 interviews that's had that luxury to say that about where you're at right now.
Well, maybe I'm blowing it up a little too much, but
still, even if it's only half as that, that's more than most cities are dealing with right now.
It's a pretty crazy place in that, you get, everybody talks about the Guess Who being from Winnipeg, as a legendary sort of thing. But every time you go to a club or something here, you see somebody who's playing pretty fantastic, and you realize, oh, I got to be that good to get this gig, and so there's this sort of mentality of working hard and being the best you can be.
That's kind of, I know you lived in Nashville for a while. It sounds like that in Nashville. You go out and you see somebody, you're like, holy shit, I need to move back to Bangor, Maine. Yeah, that's pretty common.
That's exactly it. I heard a funny story about, do you know a guitar player named Jeff King?
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, actually.
Oh, is he?
He's a great guy. Yeah, he plays at Reba. Yeah, he's awesome.
I don't know him at all, but
he's
I
great.
read a story about him, like his first night moving to Nashville. I think he stayed at some hotel just like near the Grand Ole Opry or something, and he went to some neighborhood bar just to have a drink, celebrate. Hey, here I am, and he saw this guitar player. It was Brent Mason.
Brent Mason. A lot of people have had that experience seeing Brent.
And he had no clue, and he was just like, "Oh shit,
yeah,
I'm gonna move back."
Yeah, yeah. Jeff is from Eastern Tennessee.
Oh, okay, cool.
I know him really well. He's a great
amazing
guy. That's so funny. Small world, man.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you're playing high school bands. How did you get your? Well, two questions really.
Mm-hmm.
Were you looking to be a sideman, or were you looking to be an artist, or both, or did you not? Or you just went with the wherever the wind blew at a given time?
I very much go with the flow. You know, I think I always wanted to be a sideman. I felt like as an artist, I never really had much to say.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I didn't, my life is pretty good. I was raised, you know, in a loving family and stuff. And I just felt like I was always attracted to people that were side people that could, you know, adapt to situations and be chameleons on a musical project. And to me, that always was enticing and exciting. So I went to music school for about 2 years here in the city in Winnipeg. And, you know, that's where your best connections are made. Like, you know, all my teachers really, we got along and they were very helpful in sort of introducing me to people in the scene, and also had friends that played music that were just helpful in, you know, like suggesting me for gigs or you know, they always come with bumps along the way. You know, you get rejected and you just kind of pick yourself up. But I think for the most part, it was, just through school, I really met a lot of great people. And then through you get in one band where there's a lot of subs, and then you're just always meeting new people, and gigs happen.
So you seemed like you had some pretty good consistency as far as moving and shaking things.
I think so. I think, you know, it's all getting to work as a sideman is part hustle, part being prepared, part just how you carry yourself and, you know, how you relate to people and finding those situations that suit you too. You know,
you seem super easy to get along with. Were you always that way?
I think so.
Yeah. I'm sure that helps. Huge.
Yeah. I've always just been a people person, and my parents kind of were people, and just, always, you know, been in many different situations. And I think if you're in a lot of situations, you have no choice but to be talkative and easy to get along with.
Was there ever like one defining moment that was like a break for you?
Yes, I would say so. You know, talk about people and being loyal to you and stuff. And I had this one friend. She was a singer-songwriter, and she received this grant to in Canada. We get some government grants to do recording.
I know you guys get like, I know lots of Switzerland. Same thing. I mean, we get nothing here in the States. It's like
very lucky. It's an interesting. Interesting situation to be in. But so she got this grant, and she insisted that I play guitar, even though the producer didn't know me, and he was like, "Nah, I'll play guitar." But she was like very insistent, and it just so happened to be I was like 21, I think 21, and it just so happened to be in this basement studio of Brad Roberts, who is the singer of Crash Test Dummies, and so. The studio was in his basement, but his in his dining room was where the board was and the control room. So he'd be up there. I didn't know, but he was up there, you know, making coffee and sipping along and listening to what was going on. I'm in the basement. I have no clue what's happening, and you know, as a 21-year-old, you know, you're on fire, you're playing your ass off because you're like, I want to prove it to the world, you know, what I can do. And so, you know, I guess it went well. And Brad, I met him when I came upstairs to listen to the tracks, and he was just like, sounds good, man. Sounds great. And then he told the engineer, he's like, man, if I ever need a guitar player on the road, I'm going to hire that kid. And so right place, right time. And I guess proving yourself when you're in a situation, you know, trying your best to prove yourself.
And then how many years later did he call you? Did you get the call?
3 years later.
So he calls you up. Did you remember like that session? Obviously you did. You remember the session.
Oh yeah, because in Canada they'd already had one record that was quite successful.
Right.
It was very successful here. They had a song called Superman Song, which blew up, and so yeah, as Canadians, like they were multi-platinum already.
Right.
And so it was a huge deal for me to go record there. And then a huge deal for me to meet him, and then he played me like some of their next record. He played me a bit of God Shuffled at His Feet, which went on to sell 10 million records, if not more. And I was just like, man, this is nuts. I can't believe I'm here and listening to this. And he was just a very kind, generous guy. And he told my friend, yeah, if I ever need a guitar player, I'm getting that kid from Portage la Prairie, which is pretty funny.
And then so 3 years later, he makes the call.
Yeah, I remember my friend who was engineering for him. He was living in London, England at the time.
Right.
And my friend Paul he was engineering for him. He goes, hey, I think Brad Roberts is going to call you, see if you want to audition.
So your buddy was in England as well, and he called you.
Yeah, he was his in-house engineer, basically. Right. And so he said, he just gave me a little forewarning, and I was like, yeah, right. Give me a break. Yeah. As if. And wouldn't you know it, like, and it was so funny because that day, it was kind of like the worst shit was going on. I had all these house gigs and stuff, and everybody's like pulling the plug on them. It's like, oh, we're going to try some different things. We're not going to have house gigs and stuff. And I was like, oh, shit. You know, what am I going to do?
So you're at a low point.
Yeah. And I get this call. And so Brad calls me about 3 days later. He says, Murray, you know, do you want to come and I'd love to have you audition for the band. We're going to fly you to London, England. And you're going to stay here for 10 days. So that's a pretty long audition.
Yeah, that so it really wasn't an audition. It was like, I want you to hang with us and see if there's a vibe.
Exactly. And so what they were doing, they were already rehearsing for their next record.
Okay.
And so he sent me all the material, all the demos of the new record to sort of see how I fit in and how I'd work out. And so I was copying all the stuff he was kind of demoing. And I still had during rehearsals, I thought it was going amazing, but I was actually like just relying on my musicality and my sort of, you know, young, carefree attitude to playing guitar. And I think I was kind of shit in the bed, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Because luckily Mitch Dorge, the drummer, who was a very kind soul to me, took me up for breakfast. He goes, man, you know, Murray, you're playing pretty damn good. And you're like, you know, you're a really nice guy. And you're like, sometimes you play great. And sometimes you kind of like, you know, hit the ditch a bit. And he goes, you know, like, when people come to see this band, they expect consistency. They're paying, you know, good price to come out, and they want to hear things the same each time. And
so you were improvising. You weren't playing from the demos.
Yeah, sometimes it'd be a killer, sometimes it'd suck.
Okay.
And so it was a great lesson in just like, okay, this is a gig where you really are playing somebody else's music, and you have to play it to a T and consistent every night. And so he really planted that seed in me, and the next few days of the audition went fantastic, and I ended up playing some parts that were a little different, like I sort of improvised, but played the same every time until they were kind of ingrained. And then they hired me to go record at Compass Point in the Bahamas. So, wow.
That's a pretty freaking cool experience.
As a 23-year-old guy, I was just like, what the hell is happening? You know, like I'm I'm recording with Terry Manning, who was, he recorded endless records that I had listened to, and was really responsible, I think, for a lot of that ZZ Top success with Eliminator and all that. And there's Terry recording me. And I'm playing all his guitars and amps he's built and stuff. And it was mind blowing. Again, lucky time, lucky break, being at the right place at the right time, and then being prepared for it, I guess.
What did you like? What was the most important thing you took away from that early experience?
I think it was like knowing your place, in your situation, and doing that the best of your abilities every single time. There's one thing about improvising, and that's kind of what I love about music, because just how just that spontaneity. I love that. But this was a different thing. It was about performance and about consistency and about knowing your place in the musical situation and finding your spot. Like, what is your function? And for me, I think that really helped in my later years of, what's your function as a guitar player or everybody's instrument? Like, what is your purpose in the music? How do we make the music better? What do we do, to make it better? And that, I think that all stemmed from that conversation where it's like, okay, you got to be consistent here and play the right part.
Yeah.
and keep playing it right.
Well, that's a great lesson. I mean, that's a great question to ask yourself, like in any, like raising kids, being a spouse. Like, what is your function? Like how much, when do you need to shut up, and mind your own business? Because that's a consideration, as far as, especially you're in a relationship with someone, you got, it's not all about you. You got to figure out.
Yeah. It's exactly it. A band is like a relationship, and it definitely is a relationship.
Yeah.
A song is a relationship, like playing in the studio, it's live, whatever situation. It's all about, what is your part? How do you make it the best it can be? How do you lift it?
Yeah, definitely. So that was a great, really good career lesson.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm thankful for
it. Same question for Doc Walker. How'd you get, what was your history with them? How did you get hooked up with them? And in them, you were like a full band member with them.
I was, for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So Doc Walker was started by my friend Chris, who is, he started it when he was 14 years old. He had multiple small town guys, lived and breathed country music. And I was kind of the rocker in town who taught guitar. And so Doc Walker still has two mainstays, Dave Wassilou and Chris Thorstensen. And they'd played together since they were young teenagers. And I taught them both guitar.
That's so funny.
I went to school with their sisters, and they're like, well, get Murray to teach you, and I was, what did I know at the time? I was just kind of a couple chords.
Hey, you just got to be better than the guy you're teaching.
Yeah, exactly. I just had to keep a couple steps ahead, man.
I mean,
that's it.
Literally,
Yeah. And so, I taught them guitar, and I always had this relationship with them as my career progressed, and theirs started to, they started to write songs, and they made a little cassette tape, and I think it did somewhat well for them locally, and then they hooked up with a manager and a label and stuff, and they, I was playing on all their records, their first two records, and they at one point just started saying, would you ever consider playing with us? Like, we have all these extra guitar parts, and would you consider playing with us? And their manager took me out for breakfast and stuff, and my wife and I were at a place where it was like, we just had our daughter. I toured with Crash Test Dummies for years. I was kind of trying to get out of it a little bit.
Ready to get off the road. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And, but my wife and I talked about it. We were like, let's give it 2 years. I talked about possibly being involved in the writing and stuff, things that interested me more so than touring. So
yeah. And did they give you a firm yes or like we're open to it at the time?
Oh no, they were very much
Okay, so it was, and you knew them your whole life, so you knew it wasn't like some bullshit thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and I knew I could help them a lot, and I thought they had something unique to offer and cool.
Yeah.
And so, I'd never planned on being in a country band. But I think with that band, it never really was. I think it's you just put those three people together, and that's what comes up. And because Chris sings these deep roots in country, Dave's all about AC/DC, and I'm like, I like funk and R&B, and I like folk music, I like whatever. So it kind of had this cool, it was this cool melange of different sounds and different influences. And then industry pushes you certain ways too, and management, etc. And so I think basically what was cool about that band was it sounded like very much like this is what comes out when these three people get together.
So it was, even though it was country oriented, it was organic based upon what the chemistry you guys had.
Yeah. And I think again, Canada and Canadian radio is pretty lenient that way, and is about. Because, if you listen to American country music, there's definitely a mold, or there was definitely at the time.
No, there's definitely more so now.
Yeah.
Than ever. It's,
Yeah. And so we were okay not fitting in there, and we had a great career here in Canada and Australia, and we did things I never imagined we'd do, when I first had that breakfast meeting. I was just like,
that's cool.
I can help you guys out a little bit. But it led to a real fun journey and some crazy stories and fun times and it introduced me to the Canadian country music scene too, which is a small scene, but has allowed me to continue on making music with lots of great people.
Tell me one or two cool stories or crazy stories that you mentioned.
Crazy stories?
Yeah, rock and roll stories.
Oh boy, man, how crazy can we get? Who's going to watch this?
This is the wild, wild west, man. There's no censorship here, man. As crazy as you want.
Well, I don't know if I really have crazy stories. I mean, there's bus antics, etc., but and stage antics. We got to tour with Dierks Bentley, and had it was crazy. Yeah, they treated us like gold, and we had they had no clue who we were because they're touring Canada. It's like, who's this Doc Walker band? And the band put on always a great show. Like we did things that nobody else really did. Play Hot for Teacher on banjo.
That's so funny.
And rock it out, because I always thought, man, what a great bluegrass song.
Hot for Teacher?
Got a band.
I'd love to. Do you have a recording? Is that online?
Oh, probably not.
I would love to hear Hot for Teacher on banjo.
It was amazing, man. Yeah, it was so fun. And so we do different things. And so doing, playing a tour with Dierks, I remember, this is so crazy, but it was funny at the time. I think for their last show, we all, we got in these crazy masks and hockey jerseys. And we set up a couple hockey nets, and we played ball hockey on stage almost for 3 or 4 songs all around them. And
very Canadian.
So Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you're in Ottawa or Capital,
yeah.
That's what we did. But, I mean, I think with the crazy things in my mind with that band is that, a song we wrote in my backyard, became a huge hit in Australia, and people are, 20,000 people are singing it back to you. That shit just blows your mind to me still. And I just, that to me was crazy. There's lots of laughs along the way, and those guys are like brothers in a lot of ways.
That's nice.
A lot of ways, but I guess all of it was kind of crazy to me.
Just the whole thing happening, how successful it became.
Yeah, for really not, for me anyway, not really thinking much about it other than well, I can help this out.
Yeah.
And see where it goes. And so, but yeah, crazy stories. I mean, there's probably every road trip had a couple.
I think that's the difference you said earlier about being an artist versus a sideman. I think that is kind of some of the difference. The artist has that vision, prior to, you know, their drive and their future, you know, what they're planning to get is much more set in stone for them, where other people just sort of like, hey, well, you know, whatever is meant to be will be.
Yeah,
you know, I'm going to come.
I'm a little bit roll. Yeah, I'm a little roll with it. Maybe sometimes too much.
Yeah.
You know, I as a young musician, I always set goals and stuff, and some of those were to be like, you know, to be an artist maybe, but then I was like, that just changed as things kind of rolled along, you know. And yeah, but you're right. Like I've never had that, you know, artist kind of vision. I've always been like, well, let's roll with things and see where it goes.
Right. Well, I actually think that's healthier, 'cause having done both, not as an artist in music, but having really push, and it doesn't always work just because you're pushing hard. But when you're pushing hard without just to get it done, as opposed to like, hey, I like this, I think I can help them out. In with my own life, and then like with many clients I've worked with over years, I think it's a healthier and more positive experience, actually.
Yeah, pushing a square through a round hole or something does not work.
It's stressful too, man. It's really stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just put way too much pressure on ourselves, and man, you can't do anything well if you got that kind of pressure going on.
I agree.
You know,
I totally agree.
You can never be the best version of yourself if you've got that mentality. You know, I think if you got to set realistic goals, and little things come along as your journey happens, and they just help point the direction that's got to go.
I so agree with you, man. I think being open to listening to what the universe is telling you is like a lot easier, a lot more fun. I like that what you said there. You can never be the best version of yourself if you're always pushing like that.
Yeah,
I agree with you, man. One thing as far as playing country, that one video I saw where you were playing that train, and man, that was such a lovely song.
Oh, thanks.
And your solo was just like so appropriate. But you were playing a Les Paul in there. Did you always play a Les Paul?
No, I've always been kind of a telly guy, especially in that band.
Right. That's what I was curious about.
Man, you did a deep dive. I have no clue what you watched, but was it an Epiphone Les Paul, or was it?
I don't think they showed the front of it. It was funny seeing a young Murray too. It was really funny because I know you in this context. So all of a sudden I'm like, who's that? It's just like you just look like
he had hair.
Well, you just look like a child. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm like, you know, like a kid. You're a kid. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh man.
It's
still feel like a kid. Yeah.
I know.
Well, that's funny. You know, we had a little bit of a deal with Gibson Canada, and it's kind of funny. They gave me Epiphones all the time.
Really? Like, so that it was like, I think it was an orange or like a red sunburst, maybe something like that.
Oh yeah, I do not have that guitar any longer.
So
I went. I had a couple days off in Toronto one time, and I went to the Gibson Lounge, and I was like, you know what I really want? I don't want these Epiphones. I want this. I want a 335, a Gibson 335.
Oh, dude, they're like amazing, aren't they?
To me, it's like the all-purpose guitar. You know,
that's my number one. Yeah.
That and a Telecaster, like, man, to me, I could do any gig pretty much with that guitar or both those guitars. And yeah, so I just went, you know, I've never been much of a Les Paul guy, so that is funny.
It's funny that was and it was a great track.
I'm afraid of all the stuff that's out there, to be honest.
I didn't see. I just watched some stuff. It was all good. I didn't see anything goofy or anything.
There's that is a cool tune that you mentioned. That actually, like, I just think, you know, what's funny is that song was co-written with a guy named Stacy Weidlitz, whose other claim to fame was "She's Like the Wind" with Patrick Swayze.
Oh wow,
that's his.
She's Like the Wind. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know, someone told me they met Leslie West one time, And
yeah.
it was talking about songwriting, and Leslie said, "You only need one," because he was talking about Mississippi Queen, of course.
Yeah.
So you get one big hit that can just kind of put you together for the rest of your life.
I think
Especially
that
back
changed
in the
Stacey's. Oh yeah, hell yeah. But so that train was written with him, and he and the track was, I think that solo was like 1 or 2 takes, just
really good
first impressions.
Perfect notes, man. Just every note was
thanks.
right where it should have been, man. Yeah, it was really good.
Thanks, man.
I saw an old interview with you, and this was interesting. The guy was asking you, and you kind of alluded to this earlier. The guy was asking if you like touring, and you said, "I do, but the real love for me is the actual creation process," or for you guys, process. And the real love for me is the actual creation process and recording in the studio. So that being said, I thought that might be a good segue into my next question, which is, what prompted you to leave Doc Walker, if you're comfortable answering? And then, how did you first get into being a producer?
So, yeah, for leaving Doc Walker, it was I signed up for 2 years with my wife.
With five renewals.
Yeah, 5 renewals. Turned into 10. And you know what? Like, things were good for us. I really appreciated it. But I got to a point where I was like, I think there's something else I really need to be doing, and really put my whole heart into it. And I as much as I love these guys and I love what we've accomplished and what we can do, I still feel like I'm not fulfilling all those things that I should be doing. It's just that gut feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, and it was one of the hardest things to do, because like I said, they're like brothers, and I've known them forever, and we had a good thing going. And we had a very good thing going at the time, but I just, in my heart, felt like I needed to do other things, and you got to just trust that gut instinct sometimes. And I had no other, like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a producer now, and I've got all this lineup of people who I'm going to produce. Producing always just came by being in a band situation, and I just can't help myself, but I got to throw ideas out there.
Sure.
Maybe they're shit, maybe they're good, maybe they stick. It's just like, if I'm hearing it, I got to pass it on.
Right.
And so, guys that I'd be in bands with, or artists that were looking to maybe record, if you're a side person for that band and you're just like throwing out arrangement ideas or whatever, people just started to say, why don't you produce this? Because you seem to have all these ideas for it. So you may, and then we like your ideas. Why don't we just go for it? And, to be honest, like, I technically, to this day, probably suck as a producer. I'm not like your engineer producer all in one kind of guy.
That's a separate role. Engineering and producing is not. I mean, a lot of the guys do both, like Ross or Nico Bolas out there.
Yeah.
But not necessarily.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like I know my lane, what I'm good at, what interests me. I really like getting to the heart of the song, like lyrically, substance wise. Are we hitting the marks? Are we hitting the right chords for the right words? Are we, does this chorus need to be here? Like, do we need a bridge here? Maybe we need an instrumental, whatever. That's my favorite part of producing, is just diving in with the artist and making sure we feel the songs are bulletproof before we think of recording them. And like, I just know for different projects, like, okay, we need this engineer, we need this studio, we need this situation. Because I just feel like when I'm there with a band in the studio, I want to concentrate on the music and the people making it, and making sure that they're in their most comfortable position. And I can't worry about a cable crackling or whatever, all that shit. To me, that's just not my lane.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know how to fix that shit.
Yeah. But it's fine.
So I'm if I have somebody who I trust is doing that for me, and I can just concentrate on the music, I think I'll make better music than if I had to concentrate on all that shit.
I give you credit for having the balls to do that, to leave. And no, that's because I can tell how much a tough decision.
Yeah.
from the time you actually started thinking about it till the time you actually pulled the plug, how much space was between that? Because that's a tough one.
Yeah, I would say probably a year or two.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, things had to be right where I was actually like, okay, I can float us for a couple months, you know, financially.
Sure.
It had to be right financially. It had to be right for everything to be in line with, I feel like, okay, the guys can move on.
Yeah, for the
without me
band.
now.
You can't just like, hey, we're going on tour next week.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, yeah.
Shit, sorry guys.
Yeah.
I'm not into this
Yeah,
anymore.
right.
You know, I was really conscious of everybody's feelings on it and what it would be, and it still was out of the blue for them and very difficult, but I knew that they could handle it, and I knew they'd be fine,
Right.
and I knew that I'd be fine. So it's just like never an easy decision to leave anything.
Totally.
but yeah, like you know, I lived in Nashville for part of my time in the band, and you know, at my unfortunately, our timing was kind of terrible, but my goal there was to be more of a like a studio musician, and I got to play on a lot of sessions, like with people I just, you know, I couldn't even believe I was in the same room.
Like who?
And you know, like Tom Bukovac, you know, like bass players galore. Mark
Hill is awesome.
Oh, he's a great guy. He played on some of our Doc songs.
Did he really? He's great. He's good friends with Jeff King, actually.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. It's kind of a small town for what it is, you know? Like, yeah, I got to make music like, you know, other guitar players, Rob McNally.
Rob's great. Amazing,
and, yeah. I got to make a lot of music with him, and you know, I couldn't actually believe it. You know, the people I was a credit junkie.
Sure.
I was like, holy shit, I'm on a session with, you know, drums like Shannon Forrest or something,
great.
You know, and I'm just like, what is going on? You know, who do I even tell? Like, nobody else knows these names.
I know those guys. Yeah, that's cool. That's a good experience you had, man.
Yeah, like I had a lot of people pulling for me, and that's, again, you need people in your corner, and I got to, you know, part of the reason I did move to Nashville was with Doc Walker. We got to work with a producer named Justin Niebeck, and he's responsible for so many hits and mixing and engineering incredible things. You know, Keith Urban, everybody he's probably mixed 5 songs in the top 10 right now. You know, was amazing, and he was very encouraging about me going, and so I should never have told my wife, because I'm not the kind of guy who would do it. She's like, yeah, let's move away.
Oh, so how long did you live in Nashville for?
3 years.
Right.
So I was on a 3-year work visa, but unfortunately our timing was kind of terrible, because we moved in 2007 and everything was amazing, and then the 2008 financial crash,
the recession. It was terrible. Yeah, that was really, really bad time. Yeah.
Yeah, bad time for Murray from Canada to buy a house.
Bad time for anybody to do anything, man. That was a devastating time in this country.
It was devastating, and so we lived through it, and then at the end of the 3 years, we were just like, well, what do we do? Like, at a bit of a crossroads, and it was like, well, I can still go back to Canada, and I have a career there, and I feel like, you know, because I'm still playing with Doc Walker, and the goal was to eventually, you know, just do studio stuff and become do more of that there, but the timing just didn't work out for us, and maybe for the best, you know. Like, I came home and instantly made the Brothers Landreth record with them, and that has been a calling card for me for years.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you talked about a year or two between the time of thinking about it and leaving. I always have this thing I say, when people, and myself included, we all do things when the pain of not doing them is finally greater than the pain of doing it. Whether that's, you know, going to the dentist because you got to, you know, the first day your tooth hurts, you don't say, oh, let me call the doctor. No, you're like, oh, shit, I got to leave this. And then when you're in agony, you're like, oh, shit, get me in, please. Because the pain of not doing it is greater at that point than the pain of doing it. You know, it's hard to,
it's so
especially
true.
Relationships, you know, breaking up relations.
It just, yeah, it was eating at me every single day and night and consuming me. And I was just like, I am not doing anybody any favors. Not those guys, not myself. Yeah. And that's hilarious. Yeah.
And I'm kind of with you. Like, you know, you said things are not meant to be. When things, I have a very like sort of, are you familiar with Stoicism at all? You know, the Stoics attitude is like, I don't ever look at things as, well, I'm disappointed. I'm like, well, that is not meant to be. And I take it at another level. I'm like, man, maybe I saved my life by not doing that. Maybe if this had worked, I'd be in a horrible car crash. I mean, I can't control any of this shit. You know, all I could do is the footwork.
No.
You know?
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
you know, so whatever happens is, you know, it's okay, next, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Got to roll with the punches, man.
You do.
It just kind of.
You do.
Yeah, and that's something for. It's hard to remind yourself of doing that, you know. Too.
Yeah. Well, if you fail, if you keep failing a lot, it's easy because it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No choice, right?
It's like, oh, next. So let me ask you this: a lot of people, not to put you on the spot, but a lot of musicians get into production. We all know guys. Oh, I'm going to be a producer, right? And they find out it's like people becoming a realtor, right? I love real estate. And, you know, why do you like it? I could set my own hours. I don't have to work. And whenever that's your motivation for doing something, I don't know, me, I always just feel that's not going to work, man. That's not a good reason to do anything because of all the time off you're getting. It's like, you know, someone who wants to become a teacher. Oh, man, I'm off the whole summer. I mean, that's probably not to be the best teacher. Anyway, but a lot of musicians get into production and they wind up finding it's not so easy getting clients, regardless of their past success. What do you feel has allowed your production career to grow as well as it has?
I think it's all about relationships, and it's also about your product has to speak for itself for sure, but it's really about not trying to force your own way with things too. I feel like I really want artists to be heard. I don't want to be a producer that's heard.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Totally.
I hear there's too much producer in music, a lot of music these days. I want more artists. And so you got to find out how to, you got to get to know people when you're a producer. It's not just about, okay, let's book the studio, I'm going to be your producer. It's really about like, well, is this going to work well for me? Is this going to be good for them? You know, because I'm happy to say, like, you know, I just don't think I'm the right person for you guys. I think you need to go in this direction. Being a producer is all encompassing. It's like you're a babysitter.
Yep.
In some situations, you're a therapist. You're a communicator in the sense of everybody might be in a very different ball of wax when it comes to their knowledge of music or how they communicate about music. And you're a link between what they hear and what you hear and what the engineer hears. You're kind of everything. You're a planner. You're financial. You're taking care of the finances. You know, in some occasions, making sure it all happens in budget. And it's not an easy thing to get into, and it's something that you really have to love the process of. And I probably blew what your first.
No, you're answering everything. I said, what is it that you think has helped your career grow so steadily, and your willingness to, your awareness that it's not like the first thing you said, I want artists to be heard, not me as the producer being heard. I think that's like your sort of like foundation of your production philosophy or something like that, and then everything else that you're talking about. Because you alluded to it.
Well, the other thing,
you go ahead.
Well, the other thing is like you when you're you really just have to. I always approach somebody, even if I'm not aware of what the music is, or like if it's not my strength. If I feel like I can have a really good time with these people, and we're gonna have a blast doing it, I think really good things are going to come out of it, no matter what that is. If that's just even good for the person, like is therapeutic or whatever, or if we make mind-bending music. Like if we can have a blast doing it and the two of us love it, we've done something good.
Well, I noticed earlier you were saying, when I meet with artists, I'm thinking about what studio that are they going to be best suited to. But you didn't just say because of the recording. You're like the vibe.
Vibe, everything. Yeah. That's what I mean. You really have to get to know the people, and you really got to know where are they going to thrive. What vibe is going to make them thrive? It's kind of why I don't own a studio. Oh,
because it may not work for everybody.
Yeah. And it may not work for me because it's kind of like, I love the change of scenery. It invigorates me too.
I can see that.
It's like, oh, this guy is going to be great for these people as an engineer and this studio because this is their vibe. And I feel like they're just like, I have a friend, like when we did the Bros Landreth record, Let It Lie, the very first one, they were pretty green to being a band and just doing a recording. And so my friend has this great studio outside of town, and it's the straw bale constructed house. It's he's got a guest house that's straw bale constructed. The studio's quite small, but he's just a great dude, loves to laugh, loves to you can't help but go there, eat well, have a blast, and we did it in the dead of winter here, which
holy crap,
horrid. Yeah, but like,
wow, yeah, that's a pass for me.
Yeah, well, we have to do everything in the dead of winter here, so
yeah, I guess.
But I just knew that environment for a young band that really didn't know about making mistakes or know about who they were yet. I just thought it would be a great environment where they could feel relaxed and take guidance, but also be the best version of themselves, and so it was really fun. It was like a camp out, and to me, that's really kind of cool too, because you're away from the everyday stresses.
Oh, your responsibility, man. When you don't have responsibility, your head is, like I said, I just went away this weekend. I was like exhausted. I said to my wife, babe, I'm so tired. I slept. We slept like 10 a.m. And I'm like, why am I exhausted? She goes, because you're relaxing and you're doing nothing. I'm like, oh, I guess.
Exactly.
Because I was away. No responsibility, no work, no nothing. Yeah. No computer, nothing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And there's no cell service out at this place. It's like, we're in the woods. And, you just need to get away. Sometimes you just have to do that just to have a good time. And if you're having a good time, you're going to make good music. Sure, there's been a lot of amazing records that have been made under a lot of strife and conflict, but they also took a year to make them.
Yeah, that's not realistic.
We don't have that luxury
anymore. No, not at all.
No, and there would be a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and with this, you just have to create the highs because it's a different situation these days, and I just want the highs. Like I don't want shit in my life I don't want to deal with.
Like I recorded here because I knew there'd be lots of drama. Says nobody. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what this recording needs is drama.
Yeah, right. Where do you think you got like the ability to feel the room like that? Because that is a skill set that not everybody has. And to have the awareness of like, okay, this woman really needs this and this dude is not going to work. How do you think you got that sort of like ESP kind of thing?
Well, I don't think I totally have it, but I think I've done okay in navigating that.
Well, just the fact that you have awareness of it means you have it.
Yeah. I guess, my parents and open conversations and stuff, I would assume, and just growing up and you know what, just trusting people's my instinct and reading people's faces, and there's a lot in what people just do with their eyes.
Hell yeah.
you know, and just, I always try to, just try to be respectful of what, I think maybe people want, what I would want or how I'd want to be treated, you know? And so you just try to treat people like that same way. And I try and keep it light and you know, it does morph into heavy situations almost every record. It's just going to go there at some point. You know, there's shit going on in people's lives, and music is very emotional and can take people, like, man, I've been in tears on certain sessions where it's just, I was moved by the music, you know, and moved by all the tension that was maybe happening, and I maybe hadn't navigated it so great. But when they made music together, it was just this like explosion of emotions. And I actually, honestly, it was during a Brothers Landreth record. I just like in a pool of tears.
Really?
I just couldn't help.
Do you remember the track?
I couldn't. You know what? I'll look it up. Yeah, I will tell you the track. It was very edited.
It was very what?
It became very edited.
Oh, did it?
But it was a long excursion of guitar music that was just like, how is this happening right now? And I'm glad record is being pressed right now, because it was pretty phenomenal. And I'll find the name of the track.
Yeah,
in
please.
a second.
We all need to listen to that.
Let me grab it off the wall.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Oh, you saw my mess.
No, I didn't see anything.
Jeez, it's been so long.
It's been so long. That's it. No. Just kidding.
It's been so long since. That's a good song title, though. We'll write it together, Craig. I think it may be on a song called "Salvation Bound."
Okay, what record is that from?
The Brothers Landreth, 87.
Thanks. Salvation Bound from 87. Brothers Landreth.
I believe so. And if I'm wrong, I'll correct you.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, I'll correct myself.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, it's been many occasions where you're like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening right now. Like, this is why you got into music. You know, it's for those highs and lows and those things that make you, you know, just feel something.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that, man. Top 3 musical experiences you've had and what made them so much fun or so memorable.
I wonder if that would be one, you know, like just being witness to that, you know. So that's, musical experiences don't always have to involve me doing it.
Correct.
I think, you know, and that was just a magical moment, and also a very emotional moment because of all the shit that was going down in the studio at the time. And you know, and I'm really glad I got to witness it, and I'm glad it happened, because I think it was actually therapeutic for everyone involved.
That's cool.
And
it was like
pretty
wild.
wild.
Was like makeup sex, except music.
I think so. I think you're right.
That's what I'm
actually
hearing here, man.
Oh man, where was Axl Rose? Was he part of that? He must have been there. Oh man, so funny. So another, I think a musical moment for me was actually, you know, I used to love playing at this little place. Well, actually, there's this band called Ego Spank. Which is
super
just
funky.
A band of brothers.
You guys are all. What a tight band, though, man! Holy shit!
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, that's live. That record.
So freaking tight. That was amazing, and they're all good. You could hear the musicianship of everybody's like, okay, these guys do not. They're the real deal. Yeah.
I almost never recommend anybody listen to that record, because I think we used to play every Tuesday night, and there were magic moments where we were just like, whoa, why wasn't the tape player, you know, on? But we did end up recording it, and I don't think any of us think it's really the best representation of us, but hey, that's every musician's going to say that, right? So I got to get over myself.
Yeah, man. Craig,
I'm glad you loved it.
Yeah, I really did. You know what? This reminds me of this. I'm okay now, but I used to be very awkward taking compliments. And this guy, look at me, I'm saying the Canadian accent compliments. Sound like Jordan Peterson. And Chris, there's a guy in Nashville. I don't know if you know Chris Nix, guitar player.
Oh,
anyway,
he knows. You know that name, yeah.
He told me something one time. We were talking on the phone, and he said a nice compliment. I was like, and I kind of blew it off. I'm like, well, whatever. And he said, Craig, you know what? You just need to say thank you. He said, because I'm really happy to say that to you, and you just like stole my joy. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Chris, thank you. Thank you for telling me that, more importantly than anything else. Because I didn't put myself in their shoes. Like, and it's hard when you're not like, let's talk about me. And I'm not like that. So I feel, but now I've gotten better. I've learned it because it's a two-way street. I've learned that, I have to, just shut the hell up and say thank you.
It's a talent. Yeah, it's a talent taking compliments. It's a really difficult thing to develop because, anyway. Well,
anyway, so shut up. That's a good record.
I do think. Thanks, man. I love it. And my favorite thing I've ever done. But what was cool is I had a really stressful time. My dad had passed away this one week.
Man,
and
sorry.
We were oh, thank you. It's quite a long time ago now, and he was. My dad was ill for a long time, and we had this place we used to play. It was called the Bella Vista Pizzeria. It was, you play 3 nights. You really do it for the pizza because the pizza's killer, and you do it for the music, the magic that happened at that place. It was like brightly lit. It was a total no vibe, but tons of vibe, because the people would go there to witness great music. And we'd go to play, and it's a place where you felt no pressure. You would just explore, and you would expand your musical horizons. You just kind of go for it. And it was, and you fall flat on your face, or you'd rise to the top of the mountain. It was like all those things, and in one set or one song. But we were scheduled to play there, and we had my dad's funeral on the Friday, and the guys are like, we don't have to play this. We don't need to play here. And I was like, you know what? It's going to be good for me. And it's, I think my dad would want me to do it. Man. And so let's play it. Let's play this $50 gig and eat good pizza afterwards. And you know what? I don't think I've ever played guitar like that in my life. Like before that or since. Like it was just, a moment where you just kind of like let go, and certain things just, your fingers are doing shit that your head is hearing and you just never thought you could do, and it was I left on a high, and it was like something happened that day.
That's great. Well, especially how involved your dad was in your career and in inspiring you for music and all that stuff. So it must have been heavy.
Oh man, my dad would, he would, I think he's on cloud 9, wherever cloud 9 is, knowing that I'm doing this.
That's awesome.
Living, for sure.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
So you got, being witness to Salvation Bound, the Ego Spank gig after your dad passed. What would be number 3?
Mm-hmm. Number 3, man, I think, like I was talking about, playing a song, this wasn't a song that I wrote, but playing with Crash Test Dummies outside Prague, at this huge festival. There were 60,000 people there, and it was an all Canadian lineup. It was us, Bryan Adams, and Alanis Morissette. And man, watching and listening to a crowd of 60,000 people sing a song that was written on Jesse Avenue, like a street away from me, by Brad, and seeing a whole, like, it was like another world, singing it back to you, and it's just transcendent, man. You
60,000 people. That's gotta be an amazing vibe.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah, especially when they're singing. I mean, the words were universal. I don't know if you know the song.
I know,
by Crash Test Dummies.
I I know of this song, but to be honest, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Weird Al did it as headline news.
Headline news.
And yeah, it was a great parody. But anyway, just everybody singing that back was just, to me, like I said, transcendent. You're just like, how the hell does this happen? You know, the guy wrote the song on Jesse Avenue in Winnipeg, and the world is singing it.
That's really cool.
Pretty
That is
huge,
man.
Yeah, pretty huge. Yeah.
You're involved with licensing.
Well, yeah, sort of. I mean, I've had some songs being used in TV and
Right.
movies and stuff. Yeah, I wish I knew more about it, to be honest. I don't know much about it. People say, hey, can we use your song? I'm like, okay, what do I have to sign? And will I get some money?
Yeah. And so, do you have any other side hustles going?
I mean, everything's musical,
Right.
to be honest. Like I play, I produce, I play sessions. I don't have any other side hustles other than just trying to keep the dogs fed and my wife happy. And but no, I've never really. I've had lots of ideas. Yeah, I wanted to be a mailman. You know,
A mailman. Really? What was compelling about that?
Well, you know, music can be frustrating at times. And you're just like, it's a daily struggle for me anyway, because I love doing it. But man, you can be high 5 minutes, and then you get an email or a text, and you're like, what? Oh man, the next 5 minutes suck. You know,
I get that.
So there was a point where I was just like, man, I'm in charge of absolutely everything in my life, and I find that sometimes overwhelming, and I find like the pressure of that to be just too much. And I was like, what's something else I could do where I'm like
mindless?
I get outside, I'm active.
You could be a mailman.
Mindless.
Monday, every day, every hour is the same. No freaking
exactly.
That's a diametric opposite.
Yeah. I know, and I was just like, man, that would be so freeing, and I could come home if I'm fast, I could come home at 1:30 or 2,
and I
could do music stuff. Yeah, or I could do music just for the enjoyment, you know, because I've chosen it as a career and a job, and as much as I love it, and there's a percentage of time where it's a job.
Everything is like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I just thought, oh man, maybe that's a thing.
So what happened? You didn't. The Canadian Post was what happened, man?
I got too busy, and I was like, well, screw this.
I think you made a good decision. I don't know, but I've known you for 45 minutes now or whatever, but I think my gut says you probably made a good decision not following that one up.
Thanks, man. Well, I also live in Winnipeg, which is known as Winterpeg even to Canadians. Yeah. So probably, you know, doing delivering mail in minus 30 degrees Celsius, which is, it evens out at minus 40. Our minus 40 degrees is also your minus 40 degrees. So it's hellish.
Dude, when it drops below 60 Fahrenheit, I'm chilly because I've been living in Florida so long. Honestly, it's like, holy shit, it's cold out. No, it's 60.
Yeah, you were spoiled.
I am very much. Do you hear my cat? My cat is.
I do.
Like, it's like he's gonna like bum rush that he's. You know, we have a few cats. This one's like my cat. He's like, I'm his human, I guess. Oh, yeah. He'll bray out there like a goat for an hour. And the problem is I let him in here and the entire place is in disarray in 5 minutes. He's sprawled out and successfully like destroyed my office, so I can't let him in.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just sitting here, and every time I'm on an interview, he's like, Tigger makes an appearance.
So his name Tigger?
Yeah, my daughter named. It was a perfect name because right after she named him, he started literally bouncing off walls, and he's 10, and he just stopped that about 6 months ago. So, see, but that's what's nice. See, your kids are gone. That's what it gets you. That's the big excitement of the day.
I know.
Cat. It's like, woo, great.
I know. I have two golden retriever dogs, and they're like both scratching at the door at times.
But it's still easier than having kids. Tell me, Murray, what was some of the low points or dark periods you had to deal with in life, and how'd you get through them?
I gotta say, like, I think when we actually moved back here from Nashville, I felt like in some ways that was a bit of a failure or something, that I didn't do what I went to accomplish, and putting that much pressure on your shoulders rather than realizing, well, there's a lot of shit at play there, like there's a lot of things. It just wasn't meant to be timing wise, and maybe it wasn't meant to be career wise, and I incurred a lot of financial stress because of it, because of the crash. And man, I owned a house in Nashville. I couldn't sell it. I had to rent it out. I couldn't even rent it out for what I owed every month.
That's so stressful.
I think my lowest points have always been those sort of financial stresses that come with just life. And maybe I'm not the best at dealing with that stuff, but I find those are, and also, losing my dad, was very difficult, as everybody knows, that losing loved ones is tough, but he was just such a dreamer in the sense, and really was amazing at sort of transferring those dreams onto you. You know what I mean? But I never felt like I was living his dream. I'm just like, he was just super encouraging, and just for all the issues he had, he was just your number one cheerleader. Awesome. And but I think, honestly, the whole having to come back to Canada, and not that we don't love it here, this has allowed me a lot of different freedoms in a sense of making music, etc. But just it was the first time I sort of sensed or felt a sense of failure, I guess, in my career. And I can't attribute it all to just me. Like, don't put that pressure on yourself.
Dude, why didn't you rescue the economy? A long time. That wouldn't have happened.
Man, I'd be a hero there.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought as much about that. I was thinking it was more me, like, why couldn't I make this happen, But it's a learning curve, a learning process.
We all go through shit like that. And it's hard. When you put so much into something, it's almost impossible to think it wasn't you. That's really hard to do. Yeah. Or to accept it wasn't you even, Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so true. So that was a low point.
You, man.
But, I'm over it.
Hey, let's talk about your gear just for a minute. What's your go-to guitar right now, or let's say over your career? What was your go-to guitar, and what other two guitars round out your top three?
Yeah, it's been through different periods. Like early on, it was all Strat, man, Strat. Then I couldn't stand the sound of a Strat, and I was like, oh, I'm so sick of it. It kind of fell out of favor for a while there, didn't it? And I was just like, screw it. I don't ever want to play a Strat again. Sold it stupidly. I've sold so many guitars. Then I was all like, I'm going to have a Jazzmaster. That's going to be my thing. And I don't know why. I found an old 1960s Olympic white, and I bought it for $1,500. And I was like, this is going to be my guitar. I just loved the look. I was really into like bands like Jellyfish and stuff like that, and I just thought I loved the sound of this Jazzmaster, but for some reason I just couldn't make it. It was great for studio, but for live it just was not my thing. It was like, I don't really play like this live.
That Lyle Workman in the band then? That guy could play a teacup and make it sound amazing. He's like one of the most amazing guitar players on earth, that guy.
Lyle Workman is a monster.
So talented. Yeah.
It's incredible. Like, he played on that record and like on Spilt Milk, and I've just been a fan of his ever since. Like, he was in Bourgeois Tag before that. Like, and I was like, wow, I loved a bunch of their tunes, but like some of the stuff he's doing now, like it's mind blowing. And I've never heard shredding like that be so emotional. Like, he's just got a couple of Instagram posts where I was just like, damn. That
He's
is
pretty amazing. Yeah, he's got a good story. Too.
otherworldly.
I had him on the show a couple of times. He had a really
Did you?
good life story as well.
Oh,
so.
cool. Oh, very cool. So yeah, actually when I was in, then I became a telly guy, and I was like, but I tried out a million tellies, and I felt like I've always been about all purpose, and I wanted something that I could do everything with.
What'd you settle on?
And so I settled on this Tom Anderson Hollow T Telecaster that to me has just been a workhorse for like 20 years, and it's
what is that pickup? Is that like a P90 in the bridge? What is that?
No, they're his pickups that he makes. It just looks a little weird
because it's angled probably like that.
But
because it's thicker, it's exposed, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is the Hollow T, so it's chambered. And man, I don't know. There's something about this guitar, the playability. I abuse guitars live, like go hard. And
does he have steel frets?
Can take anything.
I have one of his guitars. One first.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I'm the worst, man. Shit, I don't know anything about anything. It's got the Buzz Featon tuning system. It seems to stay in tune forever, man. And when I actually blew up one of these pickups. I don't know how, but actually stopped working. And I called Tom Anderson expecting to speak to some, guy. And it's actually Tom. And he goes, "Oh, man, that's never happened to any of my guitars. Any of my pickups. I was sending you one. Just send that one back and I'll send you a new one." Yeah, it was cool. And then, you know what? These days, I'm a 335 guy. Like, I was just like, ever since I got it and lived in Nashville, I was like, this is the guitar for me. It's just, it can be thin, it can be thick, it can be inspiring. I love the sustain. I just love the everything about it.
Did you what year is your 330? Tell me about your 335.
It is off the shelf at the Gibson guitar. They had a little showcase room. It was unplayable for the first little while, and I had it set up by multiple guys I trust. Took it on tour, trying so hard to make it work. It was the only one in the showcase room, so I took it as a lender, and then, man, I was doing a little studio thing, and I put it down, and I hear that I had the headphones on. I hear this. Oh, didn't think anything of it. Headstock completely, had fallen off. Man, I've had that headstock break off 3 times. God. Every time it's better.
Wow.
It stays in tune better. It's actually, that guitar is indestructible now, and I love it. And it's been my mainstay for the last little while. And for recording, I just find like I can make it work on anything.
What year is
any
it?
kind of music and
a ballpark.
You know what? I'd say it's only probably about 12 years old, 15 at the most. Yeah, it's nothing fancy about it.
Do you have the 50? What's in there? Classic 57s?
Other than,
those are amazing pickups. Yeah. I mean, honestly, those are as close. I mean, to me, that's like a great PAF sound. Yeah. They did a good job on it.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, I get everything I need out of that guitar. Like, I just feel it's super versatile and kind of underrated in that sense.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
That's phenomenal guitar. You could do anything with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I kind of I just gravitate. I remember Tom Bukovac in the studio had one, and I was just like, man, that thing sounds amazing. And I mean, he has something to do with that. But I just felt like it was all purpose, and I could make it work in so many situations. And I did, I was doing a lot of studio stuff, so I was like, I gotta have that. Man. And so Gibson was kind enough to say, yeah, you can take
They didn't say, well, we have it in an Epiphone.
I think that's probably what they wanted to say, but
throwing around the world.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I
know.
Is there anything you haven't done yet musically that you'd like to do?
I guess it's just continue to get better and be better at my craft and I cherish the people that I get to work with, and I feel like a lot of the people I get to work with, I feel like we still have a lot of ground to cover and things that we're going to accomplish and maybe, expose the world to, that I think will be great. And I don't know, like musically, I love every time I get on stage, I want it to be better. I want every time I enter the studio to be a better scenario. I love, or not scenario, but a better result, for the people I'm working with. And I guess that's all you can do, is kind of just strive to keep getting better. And man, sometimes life is just too busy to keep trying to up those skills. But if you can learn from each time you're doing your skill, and just like, no matter how many times I go in the studio, I think I've got this figured out. And it's like, nope.
Which is great, because every time it's learning, so you grow out of it each time, man. Yeah.
Man, it's the best. Yeah, it's what's got to happen.
Favorite musicians you've enjoyed playing with?
I'm very lucky, man. I like, even my band of brothers here, Ego Spank. It's really, there's something when there's communication that happens on stage with those guys that is like nothing else I can ever replicate anywhere else.
When is the band getting back together? Do you guys, are you playing out?
We play all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. But that recording was done so long ago. It's time. We've got some new songs in the can, believe it or not. But I feel like wherever there's this stuff that never needs to be spoken, and it just happens on stage, and there's this, kind of crazy communication without saying a word.
That's a great relationship, man.
Golden. Oh yeah. You can't, it doesn't happen very often, and I'm very, very lucky to play with those guys, and they're all very busy players here in town. And, I've got to play, like, we were talking about
Bob Glaub. Yeah.
Glaub,
awesome.
Just legend. I got to play on sessions with people that like I said, couldn't even believe I was on the same, in the same room with them making music. And that to me it's always a learning process, always a huge, it also makes you think like, hey, I got to raise my game a little bit, or quite a bit. And you also, I feel like if you can rise to that occasion, you realize like, shit, I belong. I'm making music with them here and having a blast, and that was the thing with Bob, like on the session.
He's such a sweet human being, man. I mean, his like a Swiss watch, man. His timing is
ridiculous. Yeah. And he was so also concerned about if his time wasn't quite right, like he'd make sure he'd be the guy. Like, I always find the best guys are the most concerned.
Yeah, like, well, that's why they're the best.
Yeah, and well, I remember playing on a session with JT.
Sure, I know. And he passed.
Him?
Yeah,
he did, unfortunately, and I was very sad. But I got to play on a couple sessions with him when I lived in Nashville, and I was blown away by his professionalism. Oh, that, like, the list went on. Like his ability to make a hook, his ability to play just the right part, his feel, his time, everything, his sound was so fantastic. And he'd always be the last guy there, making sure the client was 100% happy. And he'd stay over his whole lunch hour. Everybody else is like, oh, right, we're out. Ding. Cymbals are still ringing, and they're out for lunch.
Would hang out.
And, he would be there until lunch hour was over if you needed something else from him.
That's really cool.
And it's one of the things that just made him the ultimate pro. And I always tried I think I tried to take something from him in that, just like, man, it doesn't matter if you just did a job. You have to go above and beyond all the time. And it's not always about what you hear. It's about what the client hears, or whose music it is, and it's their product, and it's their their heart and soul that you have to try and communicate. So,
do you happen to know Pat? Did you know Pat Burgess in Nashville?
I know that name.
He played with
Pat Burgesson.
Chet Atkins for a while. Chet brought him down from New York.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, he taught me such a valuable lesson. They have this thing on. It's a group in Nashville, the Nashville Guitar Community, and I guess, this is probably a couple of years before COVID. They were having an event, a concert, and raise funds, something like that, down in Nashville. And they asked me, did I want to come and host it, which was very thoughtful of them. And so I said sure. And it was just like announcing people and stuff, but it went on very, very long. It was like 5 hours, and it was too long. It was their first event, and Pat Burgesson, who is a just stellar session player, was closed the show, and he plays like an old vintage 330, and he taught me there's like literally 5 people left in there, and this is a guy who's played Carnegie Hall with Chet Atkins, and he's like,
exactly,
I want to thank you guys all for hanging around. I really appreciate it. I hope we can satisfy you tonight. And his humility, and I'm like, and I walked up to him after the show. I said, Pat, you showed me tonight what professionalism is, and I will never forget that. And even I'm in a different capacity, that lesson will stick with me forever. And what do you say? I mean, the guy's, he didn't need to do that, but it was 5 people literally, and he killed it. It was.
But he felt he needed to do that, and like he had no. When people say he didn't need to do that, like that's how we feel. But he felt
because that's his level of professionalism. He's first class, and it's not about me. It's about you guys are here, man. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing for you.
Yeah. And man, if you're doing this, like I'm a people, somebody like Pat would be a people person 100%. In the sense that. Man, one connection with one of those people that stuck around means a lot to me, and I just
that's what it's about, man. Those are the people in every profession, that level of class. That's why there's a reason why they're successful. It's not random, and it's not just the work. It's the level of commitment to making things happen, and knowing you're in the service business, and who is my client,
Right.
So I think that's
exactly.
So important. Murray, worst gig ever.
This past weekend. No, it was man, it's a funny one. I could do several. I'll do one that was kind of higher profile, and it was it's made me question my career path. And so I won't go into all the details, but it was Brad Roberts from Crash Test Dummies had this. I don't know if I should tell it, but it was a very funny story. He had this song called Superman's Song, and he wanted to. He was asked to sing it to introduce Christopher Reeves at this dinner, and I can't go into all the details because it's nasty, but this is like a $600 a plate.
Was this like
honoring Christopher Reeves?
Christopher Reeves, one of his illnesses, or a charity thing?
Okay. Yeah, it was a charity thing, and he was speaking at this thing and in Ottawa, and I took the gig, and oh man, I probably shouldn't even be telling it because I should probably think of a different gig because it's kind of damning to many. I can tell you. Okay, this is off record then, Craig.
You were going down such a good path there, man.
Okay. And then, so basically I hadn't played with Brad for quite some time. And I agreed to the gig. It was like, I was in Ontario anyway, so I'd be close to the gig. I could take the train and be there, and it'd be no sweat, no problem. So we played, we're asked to play this thing. Brad was maybe not in the best place ever. Just, in his life, and, going through a lot of stresses and stuff. And And so I basically had to help him along with a lot of things, and we get to this thing for Christopher Reeves, and they ask us, guys, can you kill a bit of time and play some jazz? And we're like, I'm like, we don't play jazz. Like, Brad Roberts, he's here to sing Superman's song and like that's what he's here to do. But Brad's in a funny state, and he goes, yeah, Murray, we could play the Trident gum commercial. And like, it was this,
no,
I don't know if you ever heard it. It might have been a Canadian gum thing, but anyway, we knew it because we used to do it in this duo shtick we did. And, man, people are like, what the hell? Like, he's singing in his big voice. And
you're playing the Trident gum.
We're playing these. Yeah, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell are we doing? And Brad goes on about the story about his birthmark, and I'll let you leave it to people's imagination. They're, out there, and everybody's forks and knives dropping their plates as he's talking about this birthmark, and then he'd been threatening to sort of say this poem he'd written about Christopher Reeves all day. He wanted me to sort of stop and clap, and I was like, ooh, the content of it was quite. I think people would only remember the first two lines of the.
It was a negative, a parody or something of taking the piss out of Christopher Reeve, and he's the guest of honor.
I think, yeah. Well, it was kind of like the first two lines would make you think he's being disrespectful, but the way Brad is, he's a genius, and he tied it up, and it would be a very respectful sort of thing. But everybody's going to remember
the once was a man from
lines,
Nantucket or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's even worse. Not that I know much about Nantucket.
It's bad.
Anyway, it sounded like it would be disrespectful, but it was done in a loving way. But he up to the moment, he's threatened to bring this piece of paper out of his pocket and have me like stop and clap. And I was just like, oh man, he could see the fear in my eyes. I was like, no, we can't do this. Anyway, it ended up being, people were kind of like freaked by his antics and the stuff he was talking about. We played our song. I'm like, holy shit, let's get out of here. We made it. And then backstage, I'm like, oh, there's Christopher Reeves. I'm going to get to meet him. Like, this will be cool. And I won't say where Brad's birthmark is, but as I'm walking up to Christopher Reeves, he's got his two assistants on each side dressed in suits, etc. Brad proceeds to show Christopher Reeves his birthmark, where I'll just let people imagine where his birthmark is. And
like, he pulls his pants down and shows him his
shit.
Oh my, wow.
And I go, wow, how the hell did I get here?
From there to Bob Glaub.
Crazy, man.
That's like 2 lifetimes, in between. Holy crap.
Well, it seemed like it. I remember I got him back to his hotel room. It was all good. And I call my wife. I'm like, holy shit, you're not going to believe all the shit that went down tonight. Like, I'm leaving out a lot of details here, man. I feel bad, but the story is worthy of a lot of laughs if we.
Dude, I would love to hear that.
Sometime.
Oh my god! So what did Christopher Reeves do when he dropped his junk?
What can he do?
What can he do?
What can he do?
Holy shit!
It makes for a very great story.
Yeah,
when I can go in full details, but anyway, because there's many other things that happened that day. It was an ordeal.
Well, I reserve the right to hear that if we meet in person. For sure, man. That's
for sure, man.
That's at least a drink
I'm
or
coming
two.
Down to Florida
Are you really?
this winter?
Yeah, man.
Well, I'd like to.
Let me know if you're here.
I will.
Now, how do I segue into anything after someone's junk on their birthmark?
Well,
top 3 desert island discs. What are your top 3 desert island discs?
Oh man, that's right. I should have finished reading.
It's always
all your
like people like
here.
I get comments like. It always amazes me when someone will share the childhood trauma or their Journey Through Addiction, and then you ask them what their top 3 favorite CDs are, and they absolutely are gobstopped to say anything. They're like, the panic is like, and especially when you get to number 3, it's like people are sweating.
Okay, man. There's many, but I would say Jeff Buckley, Grace. Love that record. I could listen to that and just get fired up, or just heartbroken. Man, I gotta say, like, Jellyfish Spilt Milk still is to me like, it's just unbelievable. Everything about it. Number
now
3.
There's the pressure.
You know, I love Sean Colvin, A Few Small Repairs.
So you're like a singer-songwriter guy at heart.
I love songs. Yeah. Songs make the world go round, man. And I feel like, but the guitar playing on all those records is phenomenal, and in very different ways. Like John Leventhal on the Sean Colvin record, to me, is just hugely influential.
Is that the same?
I just love
John. That's not John Leventhal who plays with Dokken. That's what's his name. Her name's White. His name.
Oh. There's a John Leventhal that plays with Dokken?
I'm pretty sure that's his name. Yeah, it's not the
Definitely
same.
not the same guy.
His John Leventhal's wife is somebody, right?
Yeah, wasn't it like, well, man, I'm terrible.
Yes,
was it Roseanne
so.
Cash? Or?
John Levin is the guy's name with Dokken. Sorry, not Leventhal. John Levin. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not. I knew that wasn't correct. Yeah.
Hey, I grew up on Dokken. He must be new in Dokken.
Yeah, well, since George
newish
left, that's his.
Oh, there's no George
Dokken,
Lynch.
No.
Oh my god.
I mean, he's still around, but not with Dokken.
Oh,
what's that show?
Oh man, Dokken was a huge influence.
All those old albums. What's it? I'm sorry. What's the Sean Colvin record? Because I want to check it out.
A Few Small Repairs. It actually won the Grammy for Album of the Year, and I heard a crazy story that's the first record that John Leventhal produced. And I don't know if that's bullshit or if there's truth to that. But man, it's just the way the parts are interwoven and how they work together. And it's just like, as a production kind of learning about that, it's still mind blowing, that record. And, just really unique. And it's not like it's guitar solos or anything. It's just super tasty.
And he was the guitar player on there.
Like,
John
so
Leventhal.
good.
Interesting.
Yeah. He produced it and played guitar. Yeah. Or whatever stringed instruments. And the Jeff Buckley record to me is just like, wow. Like the way I love the drums on that record. It's just like the drumming on that record is so, I don't know. It makes those songs talk. And
who was the drummer on there? Do you know?
And Matt Johnson, is that it? Oh man, I'm the worst.
It's an older record.
And he. Oh yeah. And it's incredible playing. Just hugely emotional drumming, and you can tell he's going for stuff too, like that's maybe on the edge of his abilities, and it's just like exciting, and for them to capture all that and keep it is to me like extremely exciting. And then the Jellyfish one is just like, I just love everything about that, like the sounds, the songwriting, the harmonies. I'm huge into like vocals and stuff, and that's my favorite, like singing harmonies. I could do that all day. I'd rather than play guitar, to be honest. It was just just love it.
I just saw something, a little clip. Anyway. Somebody posted something about David Bowie. It was a David Bowie interview, and you talk about going for the edge. And Bowie was saying something like, the best place to be is when you're stepping out into the ocean, not at your ankles, but when you're just thinking you're probably in a little too deep, that's when you're going to get the best out of your performance. And you're thinking, shit, I hope I'll get back to shore.
Oh, yeah.
That's when, because it goes to what you were saying about, being a little uncomfortable, sort of.
It's kind of good to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And just getting to that point where you're like, it's a pretty cool way of putting it. I don't know how to swim, so I wouldn't be in David Bowie's. But it's just, it's pushing yourself, right? And just like, Well, there's certain things we all know we can do, and the comfort zone is okay at times because it gets us through our daily work. But if we want to take something to the next level,
get a little uncomfortable.
You got to push.
I agree.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell me something you've done, Murray, or a specific experience you had that changed your outlook on life or changed your outlook on yourself.
I would say I think my marriage maybe was pretty I think I'm a better person because of my wife and the things she allows me and has taught me. Not, I wouldn't say allows isn't the right word, but in the fact that she is allowing me to fully express who I am, which is a very to me like I am so thankful because like she has brought out things to me that out of me that I never would have imagined, and she's given me that sort of carte blanche to be myself. Because she said, like, she's also who talked me out of being a mailman. She said,
"Good one, Mrs. Pulver."
She said, "Yeah, well, yeah." She's just like, "Man, this is what you're best at. It's your best thing. It's the way you're going to achieve success. However you measure that, that's the only way you're going to be the best version of yourself again, and is by expressing yourself in however that looks." And she's allowed us the opportunity to move other places, to do things I never thought I'd do. It really does take someone who's your full-on support system, and like I don't mean in a financial way, just emotionally and charging
it's tough
you up.
Being an entrepreneur, man, especially in the music business.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. But she knows that I would not be happy doing anything else, and she knows also that the best that's going to come out of me is by doing this.
And you've been together like 20 years, I think you told me. 25. Yeah,
25 just this year, man.
Dude, that's a long time.
Last week.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It is.
Very cool.
Yeah, thanks, man.
What do you like and dislike most about yourself, Murray?
I guess I like that I'm a good that I get along with people. I dislike that sometimes I'm not a little more what's the word? Just a little more steady or sure in what I do, or being
decisive.
I don't know. Yeah, decisive. Or I'm a bit of a softie sometimes when it comes to just making good decisions. Or I need that other person to do that.
Good
for
that you got your wife, dude. That's a good combo.
Yeah,
man.
it's true, man. I'm maybe slightly. That's so funny to say slightly. I'm tongue-tied. Greg, what's happening?
I don't know. This is
a long conversation.
You'll have to explore this section with your therapist.
Yeah, I think so. No. Are you getting paid for this? You can pay to be my therapist. I'm passive aggressive for sure.
Are you really?
I don't like that. I think so. Talk to my clients, you'll see. But I do bend.
That's dude. Honestly, that's a bold
bend.
admission, because most people that are passive aggressive, they're like, if you say, "Hey man, don't be passive aggressive," I'm not passive aggressive. No, that's fucking passive aggressive right now. Is like you are being. That's a bold admission. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
I think that's not a great
awesome
trait, and
that's good. Hey man, we all have something. Believe me, but that's good that you.
Oh hell yeah,
one, man. No, I'm so impressed. That's passive aggressive people are just like they don't.
Yeah, well, it's been pointed out to me a couple times. I wonder who by. No.
Oh man.
No, it's all good. We all got to deal with things in our lives that
every day.
Help
are you
for
kidding
growth?
Me? Happiest moment or happiest time in your life?
Oh, man.
Come
right
on.
now.
You mean right now in your life?
Happiest moment.
Not right now on this interview.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry,
No, I was going to say
Craig.
sorry to you.
It's
all
led to this. Like happiest. I think, I love seeing. I'm really happy, like, with how my kids are really comfortable in who they are, and really, it's exciting to watch their journey. And man, all you can do, is try your best to help them make good decisions, and try your best to instill a joy in life, and also like instill just good values and good people skills and stuff. And it's really fun to watch your kids' journey and see how it goes. And to me, I'm just finding things super exciting for my kids right now, and that makes me happy. I feel like life is good in the choices we've made. We've had lots of highs and lows. But I was just at a winery in the Okanagan Valley, our wineries all last week for our anniversary, and
25 years. Hell yeah, man. Good for you.
So,
do you have,
man.
and it is good seeing your kids' journey. My kids are all adults, and they're all in a good place now, and it's very, very comforting. It's
Oh, it is, yeah. It's, and they're going to have challenges, but you just try and help them when you can, and hope that all the groundwork you laid, is gonna be beneficial to them.
Funny, being a parent is sort of a thankless job because the kids never tell you. But when they get older, like, yeah, right.
It's like mixing.
I'll never forget when my son came to me. He was about 20. My oldest, he was probably 25. He's 32 now. And he said, Dad, I used to hate you when I was younger because everything you told me, you were always right. He said, and now I'm so grateful that I can go to you because I know you'll be right most of the time. And I said, well, I don't know if I'll be right most of the time, but I'll be honest all the time. That's all I could tell you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
exactly.
It felt great when he said that. Not that I was right, but it felt great that, like, I get an attaboy from him. Like all your life, your job is to give them attaboys, and that was my first attaboy. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah. That was a good,
that's amazing. Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love learning from our kids too. Oh man. I learn a lot
as well. Yeah.
Just like, yeah. Oh, I could do that better. Yeah, you're right.
Tell me, you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Man, I have a weird one, man. I love Canadian football, which is, I love NFL, CFL, man. I'm so into it. We're from Winnipeg, the Blue Bombers, man. We're reigning champions 2 years in a row. But I just, it's a great release for me. I love following football. I love following NFL too. Like, I play fantasy and stuff.
My youngest son has just been texting me. I keep seeing his messages pop up. Hey man, do you want to join this fantasy? Because we used to play fantasy and we didn't play like last year. I'm like, hey dude, I like playing fantasy with you. Not because it's just because I get to hang with him a lot when we do it. So it's an excuse for us to meet once a week and,
rib each other about
totally. So
I'm
like, hey man, get on this. So he's been texting me. My phone's been blown up. So you're in the C.
I love CFL football. It's a unique game. It's different. Great players. I mean, I also love, do you
go to games? That has got to be brutal to sit out there in a stadium. Oh my God. In that weather.
What do you mean? Oh, but we play, like, our season starts in June, and we're done in November.
So you're done before it really turns to hell up there, or yeah. Okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
That.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It's pretty civilized.
Yeah, because that particular son of mine, he's my sports kid, and he's such a Packer fan. He was just like, Dad, please, I want to go to a Packer game.
Oh yeah.
At Lambeau, and I'm like,
yeah, man. Lambo.
I have to go in September. He goes, no, I want to go in November. I'm like, I'm bald, Casey.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to sit in the cold.
Just put a big old cheese head, man. You'll put a cheese head on.
What I'm going to do is he went to school later in life. He's becoming a physical therapist. So I told Ann that, I said, how about we put a big trip together for him once he graduates. It'll be a great grad. I'll take him out there in November, whenever he wants to go. But just to go out there, be well worth it.
So
Tampa.
Where do you live, Craig? Like, where are you? So you're in Tampa.
It's like 20,
so you got
it's
Tom Brady
sunny here all the time. It's beautiful all the time here.
Oh, I know, man. Yeah, you have a great hockey team and great
Tampa's
football team. So
sports, it's become a good town.
Oh man. Yeah, it's true. But
Who's
so
your
I'm
favorite
into
NFL
football,
team?
man. I love it. Man, fantasy is ruined
Oh,
because
you
now I don't
cheer
cheer
for-
for
yeah,
teams
no, it's
anymore.
tough.
I mean, I guess I have a soft spot for the Vikings because we're close. I'm a bit of a bandwagon jumper, man. Like, to be honest, like I loved LA winning last year. Like, I just love where there's where the team comes together. I used to always say I loved the Browns, but I mean, did I really?
That's commitment.
That's commitment. So is being a Vikings fan, though. Like, oh man, yeah. I don't know if I have a favorite, but I just find NFL intriguing. It's it's larger than life down there, man. Yeah, and that's exciting to me. Like, I just love that passion in sports.
It's really cool, actually. You don't see that kind of energy going around too many other places.
Totally.
Hey, you traveled all over the world. You have a favorite place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? I'd say I'm not a beach guy or anything, but I took my family. We all went to visit some family in Berlin, but we stayed in Prague for most of the time. And man, nice. Prague, Czech Republic was
what did you like so much about? I know the architecture is
like
astounding.
Architecture, it's untouched by the war. It's like the food was fantastic. The people were really welcoming, I found. The beer was amazing. I found that place to be amazing. I also loved this city in the Netherlands called Utrecht. Oh, amazing. I got to see like South Africa.
Wow.
I saw places I never would imagine, like. It does, yeah. And but I'd say, yeah, like I'm very partial to parts of Europe, I think, because of my background and like I've just been always intrigued about European life, and to me it appeals, and I also I could see myself living there, especially when we were in Berlin. I was just like, oh, my German would come back to me pretty quick, Like, that's all I spoke till I was 5. So it's
but do you seriously think you'd move there?
No, I mean, I was offered when I was playing with the Dummies, I was so knowledgeable about my hair metal at the time that they started asking me these questions, and I could rattle off names like, oh, who's the drummer of Mr. Big? Oh, Pat Torpy, blah blah blah, and they're like, do you want an A&R job here in Germany? Yeah, I don't know how serious they were, but the more we started talking, he's like, everybody, at least who they are. And I was like, man, yeah, I'll move to Germany in a heartbeat.
My wife is from the UK, and we were talking recently about, we see all these, I'm from the Bronx, man. So I see all these shows with we watch a lot of programs about England, and it's just so green there. And I'm like, and that's what I love about Florida, but oh my God, these open spaces. And I said to her, this is really weird. I said, do you think you'd want to live in England, like maybe for half the year or something? She goes, yeah. And I was like, really? You always say you'd never go back to England.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I was shocked.
Oh,
so that's
no way.
something. I don't know if I was, I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember if that was a night we had drinks or not, but I was just surprised to get a yes out of that.
It's so funny, though. My wife's English background, all her grandparents and stuff are from there, and Man, we watch
You
a
watch
lot of
BritBox?
English shows on Netflix or whatever. And,
It's a British
No, it's
TV
that.
network.
oh, gotta watch it. I'll because we watch like shows like Afterlife and
There's
we're
some
super into
great,
like
there's some
The
great
Last
dramas
Kingdom
and
shit.
crime shows over there, man. It's totally awesome.
oh yeah, very funny. Some very funny comedies too. Oh man,
Yeah,
I'll
please do.
try.
'Cause
I'll text you some.
Yeah.
as I think. Yeah, like I'm always intrigued by like, oh,
It
looks
is,
so
man.
gorgeous and just the life. I know. And I think that's our next trip. We're probably going to do England and Scotland. And I actually have been working a lot with, I've worked with 3 different British artists have come over to Winnipeg, believe it or not.
That's awesome.
To work with me. And it's just been like, I really should get over there and visit you guys and just, I keep telling them I can come there. Like, it's a lot cheaper to fly 1 than 5, but it hasn't worked out yet. They keep coming here. And so, yeah, I'd love to spend some more time
England,
there.
Scotland, and I
Check
haven't
it
been to
out.
Ireland either, so I'd like to go over there. Dublin's beautiful. See.
Oh, Dublin's a great place. Yeah, I've spent time
Alrighty.
there.
So,
great.
last question. No, 2 questions left. Do you remember most fun thing you've ever done?
Most fun thing I've ever done. I should have looked at this question.
It's a tough question, actually.
Man, it is. Yeah, because, man, fun can be defined so many ways. And then you, jeez.
Tough question.
You got me. It is a tough question. What's the most fun
What's the
you've
most
ever
fun
done?
thing I've ever done?
Yeah.
This sounds very like cliche, but the process of meeting and falling in love with my wife was
Oh, yeah.
like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. Yeah, that was like
That's so true, man.
I was on cloud 9 like 24/7 for months, maybe
Yeah.
for a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's also that like that excitement and like this constant
Yeah, learning more
communication
about her and just
and,
I had never been around somebody like that. It was
Yeah.
just, I could and I still feel that same way, and many not constantly, but I
That's
still
cool.
feel that's one of the most fun parts of my life. But yeah, that period of time was
for
probably
sure.
the most fun thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that period of time is definitely like, yeah, it's you're exploring so many different things that you didn't know about each other,
Yeah.
or about yourself, and it's just kind of this crazy. It all happened actually. That was happening at the same time as me getting the Dummies.
So that was a
gig,
great period of time for you in
and,
general.
and
Yeah.
traveling the world, yeah, and just like it seemed like the world was exploding in so many ways.
That's awesome.
All at once. In my I was 23, 24, like, so I'm not
No,
just
it's
steal
your
answer,
interview, not mine.
Craig.
No one's ever asked me. No, people don't usually ask me questions. So it was like, oh.
But I was just like, that really was such a crazy, fun time. And man, you feel like you're on top of the world in so many ways when you're exploring, a relationship with someone, and you feel like,
Well, you're at work, you're
everything's
like
new.
living phone call to
You know?
phone call. I can't wait till I can call her on my break, or I can't wait till we see each other after work.
yeah.
Or, it's just like moments of high. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
That was
exhilarating,
probably the
man.
most fun.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Okay,
That's
I stole your
good-
answer.
Good answer.
Stole
bro.
it. But it's true. Like everything did happen all at the same time. It was just like my world is exploding right here, and I don't even know how I got here. And I was not somebody who had relationships before that either. So everything was just like
That's awesome. man.
bang, so crazy. Yeah, it
Last
was fun.
question. Thank you so much for everything, man. I'm so happy I finally got to talk with you, and you're awesome. Thank you. Biggest,
Yeah.
Likewise.
Great
Biggest
time.
change in your personality, Murray, over the last 10 years, and where do you see yourself going maybe in the next 10 years as far as personality?
Personality. I'd say my wife would say I'm getting grumpier, but I don't know what that means. because I don't feel grumpy.
Are you being passive aggressive?
But I'd say, yeah, maybe. I don't agree with you. What? Me? No. I'd say personality-wise, I feel like I know myself better in the last 10 years, and I know what I'm good at accepting and what I'm maybe being just self-aware of what is good for me and what isn't good for me. And just, because when we're younger, we just take it all. We're just like, yeah, come on, it's just going to beat the world. But that's not necessarily the right path. It's good to have that exuberance, and that excitement, but you do have to set some boundaries for yourself. And so I think I've been better at knowing who I am and what I'm good at, and using that to my advantage, hopefully, or at least to help betterment, the bettering of myself or my relationship or whatever.
I have these criteria, like before I get involved in a project, business related, and like one of them is, do I like this? Like basic stuff. Do I like this kind of work? Is it in my wheelhouse already? Like, I'm not looking to learn like how to roof my house at this point in time, and I agree with you on that. I think you got to. Is there joy coming out of this thing for me?
Yeah, and just like you said, like it's knowing your strengths and really getting the best out of those strengths and making things better for those around you by doing that.
All righty, I want to tell people how to find you. Thank you again so much for everything. First of all, Murray does play out with his band Ego Spank. If you're in the Winterpeg or Winnipeg area, it's he posts his gigs on Instagram. His Instagram is Pulver Murray, Pulver Murray. So local gigs are on there. The Brothers Landreth, the new album called Come Morning, is doing really well. Murray produced that, and again, Joey was on the show here. Joey Landreth, if you want to listen to that interview. Ariel Posen is another guy that was on the show. Used to be with the Brothers Landreth, tremendous guitarist. Murray's working on his new album. It will be out in early 2023. If people are interested in working with you as a producer, what is the best way for them to contact you, and what do you want them to send you?
Probably just through email and through my website.
Go to
if that's possible.
MurrayPulver.com.
And
MurrayPulver, and there's a contact form.
I'll put some better contact on or content on there at some point. I would say, just sort of getting in touch with me and we can have a conversation and see what people's goals are, what they're hoping to get out of it. And then we talk music and we talk just general life and see how things are going. And if you feel there's a connection.
Obviously send some music files of current material, maybe past material, things like what prompted you to contact him? Why do you think it might be a fit? The more information you can give, the more he can give you back, some wisdom and say, hey, this makes sense, or let's talk, or this is not a fit, or whatever. So the more you, I love giving feedback on songs and love talking about where you hear stuff going. And very cool. I know
I'm
you are.
excited about that part of the process. So.
All right, man. Well, thank you for everything. Let me wrap this up. Any final words of wisdom?
Watch Craig's show.
Well, thank you.
No, I really appreciate you having
Likewise.
me. And it's been super fun talking, man. And
likewise. Thank you. Hang on one second.
To know you.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it on your socials. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much to Murray Pulver for all his time. Again, please check out him on Instagram, Pulver Murray. For local gigs, if you're up in Canada and the Winnipeg area, check out the Brothers Landreth new album, Come Morning. Ariel Posen, look forward to his new album in early 2023. And if you're interested in working with Murray, go to his website, murraypulver.com, and contact him there. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Thanks for everything, Murray.